Hello, welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph. This is future me for this vlog, coming back to tell you that once again I forgot to record an intro for this vlog. Hi, it's a horror themed reading vlog. In this video I will be reading Little Heaven by Nick Cutter, Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This version of me will be seeing you at the end of the video. Enjoy! Editing Steph here to say that even though I'm holding another book in this segment right here, I decided not to include that book in this vlog because this video was over an hour long before I started editing it. Also, I'm going to start off with footage from when I went to a farm and a corn maze. There we go, have fun, and then the books come. Fast forward if you don't want to see pigs and goats and stuff. Bye!
It could change the world. On we go.
Corn. This one. He's so cutie. I like it. So much corn. How many days have we been stuck in the desert? 7. 21 minutes? 21 days. So much corn. Our ultimate challenge.
Oh, no.
It's the double diamond back of corn mazes. We made it back to the entrance. Goodbye, entrance. Goodbye. We're gonna try again. Look at this little guy. Look at him. Where you going? Hi. Coming down? Oh my goodness. Oh. Hi, baby. Hi, baby.
His name's Chocolate Chip.
Yes. Yeah.
Chocolate Chip. How do you know?
Chocolate Chip.
Ah. Horror reading vlog update. Okay, I am 100 pages into this. I had no idea that this was going to be a cosmic horror. That is such a pleasant surprise. So in the very first section and the epilogue, the first 7 pages had me freaking out. So it's basically starts off, which I don't think it's going to be a spoiler because again, it's in the first 7 pages. This creature that was like a dormant horror, and something happens, we don't know yet what makes it come back to life, and it infects like a lichen or something very small, and that thing touches something else, like touches an ant, and then it transfers over and the previous thing dies, and then the ant goes back to the ant hill and infects all the other ants, and then those ants infect something bigger, and then those bugs infects another creature until it like becomes this amalgamation of creature parts, and the screams that they make is very disturbing. So at this point we are following 3 main characters. All of them were hired hitmen in the 60s, so we have 2 timelines that we're following. One is in the 60s, one is in the 80s. That being said, because they're hitmen in the 60s, people are assholes. People say and do horrible things, and that's kind of like what our characters are navigating. They're in the American Southwest, so there's like a lot of racism, there's a lot of xenophobia, and it's kind of interesting to me how we get these glimpses of not just how our main characters, one is a just regular old white dude, another one is a woman, and another one is this British black guy, and how they're kind of like moving through being hired hitmen in xenophobic pre-civil rights America. But then also how this monster is dealing with that, how this monster kind of moves about, or this horror being kind of moves around and plays with people's xenophobia, or plays with their racism, or plays with their, like, the horrible things that people think in the back of their mind to spread that. And the question here is kind of like, does God exist? So it's a lot happening, and it's one of those things where it's fine that we're definitely not gonna get any kind of like major answers as to where this thing has come from, or what part of the void, or if it is the void. But seeing how each of these characters is grappling with what their new perception of the afterlife is after having come into contact with this horror. So it's wild. It's wild. I love it so much. So if you decide to pick this up for some reason, be conscious of that. There are horrible people in here doing horrible things, and everybody is horrible. So far, the only people who, if we want to create some sort of scale of morality to place people on as to likability, the children are the most innocent, and there's stuff in here with children too, so that is one of my triggers. I'm starting to slowly see a buildup of interaction with children, because it has something to do with innocence, and we'll see where that goes. But I'm scared, because like I said, that's one of my biggest triggers, and I don't know what Nick Cutter is going to do with that. It's making me very nervous, but I'm scared and I'm having a good time. So again, he's not letting me down. We will see where that goes. Listen, I am screaming. I'm like halfway with this right now. Do you see the amount of tabs that I have? I love this book so much, and I'm so stressed, and I have so many emotions. Everyone's horrible, like I said. Everyone is like irredeemable for different reasons. We are in the compound, and we are set still in the 1960s for a majority of this. So even though our main characters, we kind of know that they survived the events of the past, but that they're haunted because in the future, in the 80s, they go back to face this evil thing. They end up eventually in the compound after fighting this monster amalgamation thing, which is part of this evil being, chaos energy that absorbs meat. And we have a reverend who is just a horrible person all around, definitely a narcissist who takes advantage of people and lures them into his flock. But things are going wrong. The children are off. Everyone's off. They look old, but everyone looks old, like the ground is zapping energy from them, and the kids are turning evil. So some people want to leave, and that's kind of where we're at. I am very stressed because my favorite character is, we don't have many POVs in here, this black guy, and even though he's just as horrible as the rest of them because they're all assassins, whatever, they've done all these horrible things, like, dude, I don't care how much money you're making, you're going to this compound with all these religious, cultish, white people in the 1960s, and everybody's racist. The money's not worth it, dude. Please get out and go home. But he broke his foot, and now he's stuck there. So when he dies, I'm gonna scream. But I've already screamed a couple times, and it's fantastic. I love it. This might be one of my top 10 favorite books of the year. Absolutely obsessed. Hold on. It's another day. It's another day. Where am I? I'm here. I have this much left. Listen, I can't remember the last time that I had to put a book down because I'm genuinely scared. Like, I probably shouldn't be reading this at night before bed. that I am. And I have regrets because it's genuinely scary. Evil possessed children? What? And there's a character that's trying to get lured into the darkness right now, and I hate this for them because literally someone else who has the ability to stop it, who has the ability to raise the alarm, is too much of a coward and was like, I see it happening, but I'm gonna go back to sleep and pretend that I don't know what's going on right now, and just like let that person get lured in and killed. What? Listen, this has been so much fun. This is one of the best monster horrors that I have read in a very long time. All right, I'm probably gonna be screaming about this book for the rest of the year, and I don't even care that I look like a potato right now. I'm just like reeling. I can't stop reading this. It's so good. It's so scary. I'm probably gonna have a nightmare tonight. It's so good. Yeah, I mean, so far there was only one scene that kind of took me out of the story, and that is like one of the few things that might just barely bring this down for me. There was a scene where some characters made a stupid decision. Like, if you know that the light keeps this thing at bay, why are you making trips in the dark? You could have easily tried to do the things that you needed to try to do in the daytime, but you didn't. You tried to do it at nighttime because you're stupid. You're all stupid. Like, whatever. Okay. I feel better after talking about it now. I'm gonna try to at least finish the scene before I go to bed. And hopefully the next time you see me, I look like less of a potato, but I don't even care. I just need to say something. It's so good. I don't know what to say. Okay, bye. Okay. Listen. Okay. I am immediately after posting just a little bit of thoughts about this, I'm going to record a full-fledged review for this and for YouTube and for my TikTok for Little Heaven. What new favorite horror of all time? I was not expecting this. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did, you guys. 5 stars immediately. Favorite book of the year? Maybe. I mean, what it would be competing with is Babel, and Babel is very different from this. I don't know. I don't know what to feel. I literally had to put this book down on multiple occasions because I was scared. My heart was fluttering. I mean, it's not like I was actually fearing for my life or anything, but I was like, man, I might have some nightmares today, okay? I'm going to show you, there's illustrations in here, so I'm just going to show you an illustration from one scene, and it's kind of like, if you know, then you know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the illustrations in here were phenomenal. So here's one from when we're first kind of introduced. I'm not going to put too close because I don't want you to read the text. But when we're kind of introduced to the monsters that are in the forest hunting. So it's kind of this, I'm going to hide the text, but it's like this grotesque chimera amalgamation of forest creatures. Like, it's got a wolf head and there's squirrels coming out of its head, but the eyes are all discombobulated. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful. But then when we get to the people, okay. Now that I've fully read this, I can give you a much better synopsis of what this is about. That's pretty gory. I don't know if I should show you this one. Oh, okay. Brace yourself. Creepy as freak. I know, right? So creepy. Like, imagine this just kind of like staring at you. And right before that, it kind of introduces how the things that are in the compound are zapping life out of people, and they're kind of reappearing as these husks without eyes. It's wild. All right. How do I even talk about this? Okay. what I loved about this was that, one, it was a cosmic horror, and the last cosmic horror that I read, the other cosmic horror by Nick Cutter, is The Deep. And I feel like other people online who have rated this have said that they enjoyed The Troop more, or enjoyed The Deep more, and that this is kind of like lower on the hierarchy for other people who are fans of his work. I think this is the best one, honestly. Because The Troop, what I loved about The Troop was that it was much more gory and much more a science fiction. But to me, that is very different. That is very different from this. And The Deep was also had gore, but it was like a locked room, right? You're in the Mariana Trench and you're dealing with this like chaos energy under the ocean. But this pulled a lot of real life references, and we know ultimately from the beginning, so this isn't a spoiler, that our main three characters make it out of the events of the 1960s alive, because they're going back in the 80s to deal with the return of this evil. So we know they make it out alive, but that doesn't matter because the stakes are so high, right? And there's so many characters here, and that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not enough people to fill in all the horrible events. There's also references to real life horror events that happened in the 60s and 70s, and I don't want to say exactly what it is in case you don't know, so it doesn't spoil you, but think extreme religious cults, right? Extreme religious cults going out into the middle of nowhere, and there's families. Brainwashing, right? Think that. If you're thinking that, you're probably thinking of the right thing. So yeah, the villain in that situation very much fits the bill of many of the other real life individuals who committed these horrible actions in the 60s and 70s, where they led people out to the middle of nowhere, right? So I actually really liked that because I thought it was like very, very spot on. Like, who am I to argue, right? That this person is not capable of doing these things because they fit the actual bill. But what I did like about it was that we got a little bit more of the backstory of the villain, right? And everyone is horrible. Not a single character in here is without flaw. Some of them, more wild things happen to others. There was a scene in the beginning where an anaconda came, and we get some background context to figure out how the anaconda came in the middle of nowhere to cause this freak scenario. But I think that was actually quite lovely. Like, it was just out of the blue, out of pocket death scene that happened, and I was like, what? But that's kind of like one of the beautiful things that his writing does when it harkens back to classic horror books. This is absolutely this is my new favorite horror of all time. So if you want to know spoiler-filled thoughts, keep an eye out for a dedicated video for this. But I'm going to go on to the next book in this vlog, because this is just like a monthly horror themed vlog. I guess I'm doing like monthly vlogs now themed around a genre. Last month I did romance. This month I'm doing horror. For the romance one, I did a horror one as well. So I'm just going to choose a genre each month and go from there. So the next horror book in this vlog is probably going to be Certain Dark Things, which is also a sci-fi horror, and it's for the Interstellar Book Club. So let's see how that goes. I mean, I don't think any other horror this year is going to stand up to this, but we'll see. I forgot to update you about many of my thoughts on Certain Dark Things, and I'm already almost done. but we are at the climax. I probably have about 50 pages left, so I'm definitely finishing this today. Okay, and it's a little complicated right now. This could either end really amazing, and it'll probably end up settling on a 4-star for me if it ends well. Or this could be a complete dumpster fire, and I'm gonna have a lot of things to say about it. As it stands right now, it's at a 3.5, but that's because Domingo is carrying a brunt of that. He is my favorite character in this so far. At first, it really felt like he was a himbo, and he's still himbo. I mean, he will probably, till the end of this book, remain a himbo. But I gotta give him a little bit more credit because he's just the sweetest guy, like the sweetest character, sweetest young man, and he's just doing his best. Like, life dealt him some shitty cards, but he's doing his best. And if that means hanging out with a vampire who's essentially using him as a blood source or as a henchman or a Renfield, I guess as it's called, then hey, that's better than living under the subway tracks. Maybe? Actually, maybe not, because if he dies, then it's totally wasn't worth it. But it's better than, like, what he barely had going for him before. So, essentially, Domingo is this young guy. It takes place in Mexico City, and it's like a cyberpunk-esque kind of city. In the future, I would assume. Or maybe it's in the past, or an alternate timeline. I don't even know. But it's a little bit futuristic. It's got vampires are in the world, very common, and Mexico City is run by human gangs, so vampires don't really get far trying to start a turf war with the human gangs there. We've got a couple different POVs. We have the main vampire named Atla, which I'm pretty sure I'm saying that correctly. There are a lot of Aztec references here, so I had to Google how to say that name. So definitely I would suggest if you're going to read this, take your time, take a couple minutes to just Google how to say the different Aztec words that are in here, so you can get them correctly. But sorry if I am butchering that by any case. So a lot of interesting things as far as like Aztec history and culture. You could totally tell that Sylvia Moreno Garcia was a classic vampire nerd. She talks about it nonstop, and it's kind of fun. There's a bunch of info dumping in the beginning that I wasn't really a fan of, and it's not that I didn't want the information about vampire lore and folklore and stuff. It's just the way it was done, because Domingo, being the sweet himbo that he is, he's just trying to survive day to day in poverty and like work his little job and do what he needs to do just to scrape by. So he is the perfect character to be able to ask a bunch of questions of our main vampire, like how do vampires function, right? They're essentially like mafias all over the world of vampires. Tell us what it's about. But instead we get from her POV, and she kind of info dumps on us. So I feel like that was just a missed opportunity here. But what is cool is that we have different kinds of vampires. I don't even remember what the name of her clan is, so I'm not even going to try to say it because I don't even think I'm remembering it correctly. But Atla is from the Aztec indigenous clan of Mexico. I believe that's what he said. Or northern Mexico. And there are necros, which are... So she's like a shape-shifting vampire, kind of. Not fully shape-shifting, but she takes on like a bird-like appearance and stuff when she kind of reverts to her vampiric side. Then there's necros, which I think they're from Europe, and they kind of they're like eating vampires, and if they can infect people to make them temporary like zombie-like minions or something like that. We do have another vampire in here, Bernardino, who is more of like that Dracula-esque kind of vampire, like lives forever, blah blah blah. They all kind of sleep in the dark, but some of them can handle sun more so than others, so she can handle the sun, but in small doses, and she won't fry up. Some of the other ones will. But pretty much a bunch of mafia stuff, vampire drug lords. Something happened before this story happened where some deal went wrong with her mother, and her clan kind of got destroyed or killed, and then she goes to do something about it, and she's being chased by the other vampire gang into Mexico City, and she's trying to make it out alive to find sanctuary somewhere, and she needs help along the way. Domingo has nothing better to do, but also he just needs money, so she kind of hires him when he kind of starts hitting on her, but not really. He just sees her in the subway one day when he's off to work, and he thinks that she is pretty, and she kind of like takes advantage of him at that point. I do not like her. I will say that. I personally feel like she is a villain in this story. Depending on where this goes, I don't know if it's going there. She's kind of, I feel like, supposed to be an anti-hero in a way. I just feel like Domingo does not deserve the way that she treats him. But some people love her. I'm not one of those. I can't stand her. I think she's just so mean. And I don't know where this is going. I have predictions of where I think this is going, but I think they might be spoilery. Somebody's gonna die. I don't know who's gonna die. But to me, depending on how this is written, I feel like there's really clear foreshadowing happening here of who is going to die, but I could totally be wrong. But if it's her, I won't be mad at it. So, I'm gonna go find out. Okay, hold on. Update, because I have some downtime, and I'm trying to catch up on my reading this. Listen. I didn't like that. We just got to a romance scene, and it was supposed to be, we got to a scene where the characters are getting down and dirty, and I don't like it. I don't like it because it reconfirms my reasons for not liking Atla. She's so selfish. And I think depending on how that's being read, it could either have been as one of those like really hot like vampire blood exchange kind of scenes, like blood drinking scenes. But to me this wasn't that. But I can see some other people enjoying that. To me, that was hot garbage. This just dropped down to a 3-star. It's only been 15 minutes since my last update, but we'll try again later. Reading vlog update. So I finished Certain Dark Things. I also just filmed my October TBR. Okay, I'm giving this a 3. Part of me wants to give this a 2. But I'm giving it a 3 because ultimately I had fun. Not taking it too seriously. It was just an action vampire nerd ride. What brought it down was the ending. I feel like a certain character in here did not have much character development. Also, throughout the entire book, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool if we had like a vampire index or something? And lo and behold, in the back there is one. I just didn't know one was there, and I read the foreword. And I'm like, why wasn't that mentioned in there? Because I was looking for one the entire time. There was a bunch of like vampire references in here from other things that I didn't know about because I'm not a super huge vampire nerd, even though I enjoy vampires, but I had to go to Google. Like, had I known that it was in the back of the book, I would have just gone there. But anyway, that's just like my 2 cents, not really a big deal. It's the lack of character development in here that I didn't enjoy. I do understand what this book came out to do, and it was basically like that vampires should not really be romanticized in the way that they typically are. So like, if thinking about the romance of Twilight and other books like that are just like human vampire relationships, and how that's technically not a great thing for the people, so like stop romanticizing it. And I think that as the goal of this book did it well, because there was so much action, didn't know who was gonna make it, a bunch of people died. It's not a romance, so don't leave this thinking like, oh, it's a romance, so we know exactly who's going to end up together and what's going to happen. It's going to be happily ever after. Like, that's not it. It also foreshadows that a lot in the book with different characters saying like, you think you're in a romance, but you're not. So in that essence, like, I enjoyed the story for being a noir detective story, even though there's a detective in here and I barely got any of her POV. I really enjoyed Anna, who was the human detective, because she is a single mother and she's dealing with a lot. She has a teenage daughter. And I really enjoyed her POV, and what happened to her was pretty gruesome, and I enjoyed that. But I barely got any time with her, and also some decisions that she made. I was like, come on, girl. Like, I get that you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you are a woman in a patriarchal system, and no one's gonna respect you, and you're kind of being set up for failure anyway. But I don't necessarily agree with the decision that you just made. Where it goes from there, that's, I don't know. But really, this just felt like Sylvia Moreno Garcia was having so much fun just being a classic vampire nerd and just writing a book about it and being like, this is just a fun time. I think I've only read one other Sylvia Moreno Garcia book, and that was Mexican Gothic, and I do prefer that to this. So I will not be changing my profile pic on Venmo to me holding this instead of holding the other one. It's still gonna stay with me holding Mexican Gothic. But yeah, it was just okay. Also, Doggo was cute, but I didn't get enough Doggo. It was just like, here's a fun sidekick that goes through some stuff and is there for like slight happy vibes, because this is a very dark book. But yeah, I didn't like how much one of the main characters sacrificed, and like with little resolve at the end. Not saying that it needed to have an happy ending, not saying that things needed to end a certain way and that this needed to be a romance in order for that character to get a resolution that I would have enjoyed, but it kind of fell flat for me. I would say don't be in this for the plot. The plot is so minimal. It's literally that she's just trying to get out of Mexico City. That's the story. That's it. You're in it for the characters, and if you're not a character-driven reader, maybe you should not pick this up. I don't know. But we're going to talk about it for the Sci-Fi Book Club. Also, this was the pick for a Sci-Fi Book Club, and I will say it was kind of fun and refreshing in a way because we read mostly, obviously, everything is sci-fi centric, but I would say that this would be like sci-fi not at the forefront. It's more of like detective, noir, vampire, horror, mystery, and like sci-fi-esque because it has the cyberpunk setting, but that's really the limitations of the sci-fi here. So, you know, different, fun. I enjoyed it. It's a 3, middle of the road. Not bad, not great, just but overall in this vlog, I'd say it was pretty much a success because a 5-star potential new favorite, a 3-star, not bad, not great, but it was just okay, a great, you know, a fun time. Yeah, I'd call that a success. If you like this, don't, you know, feel like, if you like this and you feel like subscribing, go ahead. I'm not going to give you a schedule of when I'm going to post because I'm going to post whenever creativity strikes. Anyway, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.
On we go.
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka worked the factory.
In your wildest dreams, you'll put out the legend.